On today's show, Keaton Wallace is back with the Hawks officially, plus the finale of the Hawks Summer League run in Las Vegas. We'll get into all that and more coming up.
You are Locked On Hawks, your daily Atlanta Hawks podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, friends. Welcome to episode 2025 of the Locked On Hawks podcast. I am your host, Rowland, coming to you on a Sunday evening into Monday here in mid to late July. And today's podcast is brought to you by the folks at Monarch Money. Take control of your finances right now with Monarch Money and use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for half off your first year. I also want to encourage you at the top of the show, as I always do, to make Locked On Hawks your first listen each and every day. Check us out and subscribe to the show anywhere you find your podcasts. That includes Apple and Spotify. We're also on YouTube, so please like this video as you're watching it. And of course, tell your friends and your colleagues and your family about this show and join us all summer long. Today marks the end of the quote-unquote season in some ways for the Hawks. Obviously, the season ended 3 months ago in other ways, but from basically the end of the regular season until the end of Summer League, there's always something coming around the corner. It's like 3 months if you're eliminated from the playoffs early. It could be shorter than that if you win the championship, all of that. But it goes from the season to the draft to free agency to Summer League. And then we've now arrived basically at the 2-month relative dead period in the NBA. The Hawks finished up Summer League today on Sunday. They were one of the last 3 games played in Las Vegas. And from this point forward, yes, there'll be more transactions. There's still the roster spot open, for example, in Atlanta. But for the most part, it is all systems go towards training camp. But guys will get away now for a little while. It's the time when NBA people take vacations in August, etc. By the way, though, we should say at the top of the show, we do not go away. We might slow down a little bit. Won't be doing 5 episodes per week on average during this dead period, but we still will be doing multiple shows, probably averaging 3 or 4 per week still between now and then. So as some of those shows kind of go dark, we will not be doing that. So please join us throughout this process. But today's podcast, we'll be talking about a transaction that happened on Friday night. And then at the end of the show, we'll be discussing the Summer League finale. Unfortunately, it was kind of a quiet ending for the Hawks as most of the key pieces did not play today. So we're going to go through that game and then also some bigger takeaways from the desert. But first things first is that Keaton Wallace is back with Atlanta. It started to come out a little bit on Friday night. And then it was eventually just announced by the team on Friday night that the Hawks have now re-signed Keaton Wallace to a 2-way contract. I joked on Twitter in the meantime that it was kind of not worth an emergency podcast. It was Friday night for one thing, but number two, I would say it was kind of the expected outcome for a little while. And I tried to kind of foreshadow that a little bit on the podcast, like talking about how Keaton was around the team for a while and how kind of expecting to be back and all that. Nothing was official until Friday night, but it was interesting to talk about kind of what happened here and why this all happened, et cetera. So the Hawks, at the end of the season, issued qualifying offers to both Jacob Toppin and Keaton Wallace to make them restricted free agents. And because those guys finished last season on a 2-way contract, their qualifying offer was just another 2-way, basically. It's the lowest possible bar. The Hawks, it was kind of a no-brainer for the Hawks to at least offer that. Worst case scenario is what happened with a few years ago with Sharif Cooper, where they kind of offered that. It got signed. Then you could just kind of move on if you want to. It's non-guaranteed in a lot of ways. But anyway, all that meant in the meantime was that Toppin and Wallace could each sign a 2-way at any point if they wanted to. Unilaterally just choose to sign the 2-way with the Hawks. And that also meant that coming back on a 2-way was the most likely outcome for both Toppin and Wallace. Toppin signed his 2-way contract a couple weeks ago before Summer League even started. And then I would say played very well in Las Vegas. And then Wallace signed his on Friday. I mentioned this before, but Wallace was around the team several times in Las Vegas, hanging out on the kind of the courtside seats with Jalen Johnson and Onyeka Okongwu, Dyson Daniels, and those guys. Pete Krejci was courtside a bunch. It was pretty open secret that he was probably going to come back to the team at that point, having covered all of that in person. It wasn't, signed, sealed, delivered, but it was kind of implied, and behind the scenes, people kind of just acknowledged that it was probably going to happen. The team definitely wanted him back on a 2-way. That was probably the best case scenario from the team side. And once that became the case that the Hawks actually wanted him, it would have been very hard for Keaton to go somewhere else unless he had kind of a bigger offer somewhere else. And usually, it's very rare, I would say, for a 2-way guy to get an offer sheet somewhere else. It's just kind of a hard bar to clear. So unless the team wants to move on, you probably end up sticking around, and he did in this case. So as for the actual signing and my analysis of it, broadly, I would say that Keaton Wallace is a very good get from the Hawks on a 2-way contract in particular. I have found in the last couple of weeks and months, I would say, that there are some Hawks fans that are definitely higher on Keaton Wallace than I am as far as his ability against NBA competition and where his current standing might be in the NBA. For example, like I hear regularly from people that want him to be like the number 2 point guard behind Trae Young on the NBA team, and I don't agree with that. I think that's too aggressive on Keaton. If the Hawks are healthy in particular, like I think there are other options that are better than him for sure on this roster. And I don't think he has huge upside. He is 26 years old. Keep that in mind. I don't think a big breakout is coming for Keaton Wallace, and he's not like a huge developmental option. But I say all that, again, he is very valuable on a two-way. And I said that last year. I think last year I even made the point to say he was about the best case scenario on a two-way contract, realistically. Obviously, you can kind of hit a home run, but aside from an actual home run, like he played in 31 games. He filled the role very well when they had injury issues. He filled in. He was able to play. He played in College Park some. He was a good organizational soldier. Like everyone likes Keaton. That all matters. That's all good stuff. He knows the system very well. The Hawks kind of use the same, I would say, structure in Atlanta and College Park. Quinn Snyder believes heavily in the G League, and we've seen that in the last couple of years. Keaton kind of helps to embody that at the point guard spot, especially. He defends well at the point of attack. Not an absolute like Dyson level stopper, but certainly a guy who can heat up ball handlers defensively, has enough size to defend most guys in the backcourt. He's also, again, very well liked in the organization by players, by coaches, front office people. He works very hard by all accounts. Offensively, he is kind of limited. He had 50% true shooting last year in the NBA. That's not good, obviously. He's just an okay shooter. He's not a bad shooter, but just not a great one. I would say he's a below average passer for an NBA point guard. Obviously, that bar is very high. And he doesn't really initiate offense super well, but he also is a capable steward of your offense. You can kind of run him out there alongside other guys, ideally. He can score. If he gets hot and gets going, he can score in bunches at times. And again, that is more than enough for a two-way. I've seen a lot of funny stuff around the end of the bench roster spots and two-ways where people want to aim super duper high, and I get it. But realistically, if you compare Keaton Wallace to the two-way contracts around the league, he is definitely above average. Like, without question, as is Jacob Toppin, for sure. So, yes, would it have been great to get Jabari Walker on a two-way like Philadelphia did? That would have been great. I think that was an absolute heist. I think he's like a $5 million player making a two-way. Aside from that kind of level steal, I think Keaton is a really good guy to come back on a two-way. Also, the Hawks have a bunch of guards, but not a ton of like, honestly, Keaton's not a pure point guard either. But in the event that the Hawks get some injuries, if Trae goes down or whatever, you're going to need some more ball handling. Keaton can do a little bit of that. And I think, again, they had him in-house. They know him very well. And, for me, if the Hawks had paid Keaton, the minimum, I wouldn't have hated that. But on a two-way, I think it's the right thing to do. I think that's the right level for him. He does provide value. He can play for you in a pinch, and that's a good deal for the Hawks. So big picture, the Hawks two-way deals are now full. There are 3 spots. They are all 3 filled. It's Keaton Wallace, it is Jacob Toppin, and Eli Njai, the undrafted rookie out of Real Madrid. Wallace and Toppin are clearly of the mold of two-way guys who can play for you right now if you need them to. That's kind of, I do this whole spiel all the time on two-ways. Like, there are some archetypes of two-way guys where it's like, hey, your main function is if we get 3 injuries, you can play in an NBA game today. I think Keaton is definitely that. Toppin has a little bit more upside, but certainly is that mold too. And kind of in his mid-20s, can play for you a little bit, can defend for you right now. Njai is obviously much younger, being an undrafted rookie this year, more unproven. Kevin Pelton of ESPN, who's a very respected analyst, actually had Njai as the best undrafted rookie at Summer League after only 1 game, which that's how good he was. I talked about that a lot earlier this week, I guess last week now. He was really good in that game, and then defensively definitely has some upside. Obviously, he is much more uncertain at the NBA level because he just hasn't done it yet, and he's much younger than Wallace and Toppin. But the Hawks in general, their 3 two-way deals, it's a good group. I think Toppin has real like NBA rotation level player upside in the near future if things come together perfectly for him. I think Keaton is a borderline NBA player, and I use that in a positive way, honestly. A good two-way deal. And then Njai, I like the defense. I like the ability, potential, all of that. So long story short, I really like the two-way group for the Hawks. It does kind of, I won't say close the door, but make life a lot harder if people that were dreaming about like Kobe Johnson or Jack McVay, for instance, or Adam Flagler, like pick your summer league guy that you might have liked. Doesn't close the door entirely. The Hawks do have a roster spot open on a full contract, but I think as far as like pathways to immediate production for those guys on the roster, not as likely for sure. Now, I will say there'll be training camp invites for sure. We'll be tracking in the next 2 months. And also, I would say Toppin in particular is a candidate to be converted to a full contract at some point in time if the Hawks were to need him. So two ways, as I've been saying all summer long, are very fluid. But for now, they have three of them. Again, it's Toppin, it's Wallace, and it's Njai. One more time, if anybody missed this, Lamont Butler was reported as a two-way. I've been kind of poo-pooing that for a while. It was not the case. It was inaccurate reporting earlier during this cycle. But Lamont didn't play in Summer League. He was unfortunately banged up. I still like him, by the way. Just wasn't on a two-way contract. But the Hawks will bring in guys to camp for sure on Exhibit 10 contract, which is kind of those non-guaranteed, G League-focused deals. But for now, again, they have three two-ways. And on Keaton, one more time, I like this move quite a bit. Good for the player, good for the team, and a nice little depth pickup for the Hawks in the middle of July. All right. In a second, I'll be diving into the Summer League finale after a word from our partners. Today's show is brought to you by Monarch Money. You ever wish that managing your money felt just a little bit easier? With Monarch Money, it absolutely can feel easier. Whether you're growing your savings account or planning a big purchase, Monarch Money puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. And at Monarch Money, they're just more than just a budgeting app. It's instead a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, your investments, and your spending all in one place. So on top of managing your money, you're also building wealth, which we all want to build wealth. I can tell you that right now. Having all your financial tools also in one place make things easier and more convenient for you. There's actually no wasting time with juggling multiple apps. And if you're anything like me, you will also find you might have a ton of subscriptions piled up in the past. And at Monarch Money, they clean the stuff up for you in a big time hurry. Get rid of stuff that you actually don't need. Clean it up. Save money in the process. Take control of your finances overall with the folks at Monarch Money and use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for half off your first year with Monarch Money. One more time, the place to go is monarchmoney.com. The code is LOCKEDONNBA, 50% off your first year. Today's show is brought to you by Open Phone. If you're running a business, you know that every missed call is money left on the table. Think about the last time you actually had an urgent need in your own life, perhaps for a plumber or a service provider. If the first person that you called didn't answer, did you actually wait on them? You probably didn't. You probably moved on, and that's why you need Open Phone. Open Phone is the number one business phone system, and it's built to streamline customer communications all from an app on your phone or on your computer. And Open Phone, they let you manage your business calls and your texts in a single app. And they have a shared inbox feature that's an absolute game changer. Your whole team can jump into any conversation instantly without missing a beat at all. And they have Open Phone's AI agent that can handle all of your calls after hours, answer common questions, and capture any leads so you don't miss any customers at all. Open Phone is also offering my listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/lockedonnba. That's OPENPHONE, openphone.com/lockedonnba. And if you have existing numbers with another service, Open Phone will port them over for you at no extra charge. Open Phone, no missed calls, no missed customers. All right, and I alluded to this earlier, but it was kind of a letdown on Sunday evening. Not a surprise. I tried to foreshadow that a little bit on the most recent show about how I thought there might be some guys sitting out in the finale, and it ended up being the Hawks had a skeleton crew available in this standalone Sunday night game. Kobe Bufkin and Asa Newell just were shut down. No injuries on those guys, just kind of like, hey, we've seen enough. That is not a surprise at all, nor is that out of the ordinary. In fact, Bufkin and Newell playing 4 games each is like more than you can expect, honestly, for guys who are prominent in Summer League. Both showed a great deal at different times. No surprises, no issues, just normal course of business in Summer League. Nikola Juricic was actually ruled out with a right hip and left calf injury. A source told me that it was not a major concern for him. I will also say they didn't have to list an injury, and they did. Like with Newell and Bufkin, there was no injury listing. They were just kind of just DNP rest, basically. Juricic was given an injury listing, so it could be something nagging him. We don't know how serious that is, but again, the next time these guys play basketball in an official setting for the Hawks is like 2.5 months from now, so he'll have time to get right. And I was told not a major concern, so there's that. Jacob Toppin left the game a couple games ago with a hip issue. He did not play in this game, no surprise there. Njai, same thing. Butler is still hurt, and then Josh Christopher remains out. I still don't really know why the Hawks announced Christopher was going to join the Summer League team, because he never actually even suited up. He was around the team in Vegas, so maybe he'll end up being in training camp. We'll see. Just kind of an odd situation there, because he was not listed with an injury at any point. People were asking me. I don't really know the answer. So there's that. But again, they had 9 guys available total for this game. It was a skeleton crew. None of these 9 guys are projected to be members of the roster coming into the season. Now, I will say several of these players could end up being in College Park. like I would say Dwight Murray Jr. was already there last year with the Hawks. I think Kobe Johnson is likely to be in College Park. I think you might see Adam Flagler in College Park. You might see Jake Stevens. Jack McVay and Jack White might have other professional offers somewhere else, but if those guys were willing to go to College Park, certainly you would bring them. Noah Jr. Joseph, I liked all week. So there's all kinds of guys that could end up in College Park, but nothing official for any of them. The closest thing is that it's been reported, and I confirmed that the Hawks plan to give Kobe Johnson an Exhibit 10 contract, which would basically take him to training camp. The projection and I would say expectation at that point would be that he would get cut in camp from the NBA roster. But if you're signed to Exhibit 10, once you get cut, you have your G League rights go to the team. So basically, you would go to College Park. That's what I think is going to happen with him. Everybody else, more uncertainty, but that was the situation today. Like, it was not exactly a casual fan observation kind of game. In fact, this is the definition of sickos only. Like, Summer League is very sicko coded anyway. It's become much more mainstream in the last, 7 or 8 years. But a game like this on a Sunday when no one's playing is like, hey, I was watching, and very few of my colleagues were watching, I think, at that point in time. So anyway, to the game itself, not a whole lot of things jumping out to me. I would say they went down 7-0 to begin the game. They were down most of the way. The offense was pretty bad most of the night. Better in the fourth quarter. It was pretty rough before that. They gave up a big run to begin the second quarter. It was a 12-2 run. They had 7 turnovers in the first 12 and a half minutes, and they also got destroyed on the glass in the first half. At one point, Boston had 7 offensive rebounds, and the Hawks had 0. They were playing very small out of necessity. They were playing 2 small guards together a lot. They only had 2 bigs available in Junior Joseph and Jake Stevens, who Jake Stevens is not exactly a great defender. They were playing with a center for a large portion of this game. In fact, I think there was at least 7 or 8 minutes they were playing centerless basketball, just super small ball. It is what it is. They were better when they stopped turning the ball over, as you might expect. I thought Johnson showed some flashes, hit a nice off-dribble 3 at one point in the first half. They couldn't score again in the third quarter after a nice little run at the end of the first half. They scored 11 points, and they had 5 turnovers in the third quarter, and they were down by 21, and it was basically over from there. They did score 30 points in the fourth quarter. It was meaningless. They were down by 20 most of the way, but they did kind of get it going finally. Adam Flagler was better in the fourth quarter. Johnson had 9 points in the fourth quarter. They made some shots, but that was kind of the end of that. And no one ended up scoring more than 14 points for the Hawks in this game, but all 9 guys that played scored 5 points or more. So it was balanced, but not in a super efficient way. Only got to the line 10 times in the entire game. They had 16 turnovers. It was not pretty basketball. And I do think that you could argue that the offense being as bad as it was probably maybe a point in the favorable column of guys like Bufkin and Juricic, who made the offense look pretty good the rest of the week. So there's that. Again, no one I thought excelled today individually. I thought Junior Joseph at least played good defensively, had 10 points. Flagler in the fourth quarter made some shots. I like Kobe Johnson today. He was aggressive. He had 3 steals. McVay cooled off finally. He had been out of his mind, and people were wondering why he wasn't selected to a 2-way contract. He is 29 years old. Keep that in mind. Although I think he can play. He's an older guy. So that's basically it for the entire game today. I feel bad not going deeper, but as far as I always say, Summer League is not really about the results. It's more about the players. And today there wasn't guys that are projected to be on the roster. So I will kind of push away a player-by-player breakdown for today. I will also say the Hawks were 4-0 in Summer League when their actual guys were playing. Now, again, results don't matter that much, but they did play well in Summer League. This is the best Summer League team they've had in a long time. And yes, they lost today, but it was because they didn't really play anybody. So no concerns there. As far as overall, I do plan to have a guest or 2 on in the next week or 2, talk about Summer League more in some big picture fashion. But as far as the guys who, are on contracts that actually, matter for the short term, just got a couple notes here on these guys. Bufkin played 4 games, averaged 19.5 points, lead the team in scoring, 5.3 rebounds, 4.3 assists. He did not shoot the ball well from the field in Summer League. That's fair to say. He did actually end up putting up reasonable efficiency. 53% true shooting for the week is not good, but he got to the line and made his free throws. And people always want to write that off. This is something I talk about a lot at the NBA level as well. It is a skill to get to the free throw line and also make your free throws. That does matter. Now, if you're not, I understand people don't want to, I'm not saying that's gospel, but free throws do count. They do matter, and getting into the line matters. So that helps. And I always look at efficiency through the lens of your entire shooting profile, which includes free throws. So there's that. I thought Bufkin had a pretty decent week. He wasn't great, nor was he terrible, which some people might have you believe he was terrible. He really was not. You can't fake 19, 5-5, basically. And 27 minutes, he wasn't playing that much either, just compared to other guys. I thought he was in control. I think he will shoot better than this. The shooting is a question still. That's fair to say. I think Bufkin did not silence doubters. I'll put that out there for sure. I'm kind of in the same place I was in before Summer League on Bufkin, where the entire time I thought he should come into camp with a chance to contribute. I also think that he should come into camp not gifted minutes. I think the Hawks need to have alternate ideas if he's not ready. That's still the case now. The Hawks do have plenty of ball handling on their roster. I know people are concerned about their backup point guard position, and I use that in quotes, backup point guard, but they have so many guys, and I think very clearly if you follow the transaction cycle, Ansi has said this as well on the record, they are content to play multiple ball handlers together when Sheray's off the floor. And they have a lot of them to throw at the problem. They have Kennard, who's actually sneaky, really, really good at creating offense off the dribble and initiating and passing. You have Kennard, you have Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Dyson Daniels. You do have Kobe as well. You have Vit Krejci. Juricic is not quite there yet, but he's on the roster. You have Keaton Wallace, Jalen Johnson, Ricochet. They have a lot of guys who can handle the ball a little bit. And I think the plan will be to kind of defend the heck out of the ball, basically, when Trey's off the court. The Hawks can put some defensive laps out there that are fantastic. And it might be ugly at times, but if the Hawks go out there and, for instance, play some Alexander Walker, Dyson Daniels, Ricochet, and two other good defender lineups, that could be pretty scary defensively. So long story short, I thought Kobe was pretty good, not great. He had one really bad game process-wise. He had one really bad game shooting-wise. And the rest of the week, pretty solid. And again, averaged clearly the best numbers as far as the scoring average on the roster. Asa Newell was quite good, I think, in Summer League. Now, free throw shooting was probably his one stat problem, but 13.5 points a game, 8 rebounds, a steal, almost a block per game. He was efficient around the rim for the most part. I think he ended up taking 15 threes. It was 14 threes. 14 threes during the week, made 6 of them, so that's totally fine. Got to the rim. Defensively, looked to be fluid to me athletically. Right place at the right time. There were some rookie moments for sure, but I think overall a strong passing grade for Asa in Summer League and a lot more to come there. Other guys, Juricic was up and down for sure. The flashes were very good. I think his first game was pretty disastrous, but that was okay. It was post-contract, kind of weird. He had one more bad half, but the rest of the time there was some flashes. He got into the lane a lot. He's able to break contain in a good way. The shooting is a real question. He took 4 threes in 4 games. He's got to be able to shoot. There are 2 questions with Juricic. I was just kind of my short end. For me, he has to be able to either shoot threes or defend, preferably both. But if he can't do either one, he isn't really an NBA player. If he can do at least one of those 2, he'll be fine. If he does both of those, he could be really good. So we'll see on all that. But I thought he showed some flashes, got to the rim, and that was what I wanted to see from him. Jacob Toppin, I thought was their best overall player, honestly. Now, I know he's a little bit older. That's kind of baked in. I think, Asa, if you adjust for age, was probably this. But Toppin is, yes, he's 25 years old, but he was their best player as far as hey, win a game today. Who's the guy? It was him. He averaged 15 points a game. He shot 57% from the floor, 40% from 3, 7 rebounds, almost a steal per game. Good defender, made his shots, improved ball handling. I like Toppin quite a bit there. So that was good to see. The only other guy that I have not mentioned this on a contract is Eli Njai, who only played 1 game, but I have talked about it a lot. I thought he looked great in that game. 12.6 rebounds, had a steal, had a block, looked awesome defensively to me. He's 21, so keep your projections in check, especially for a rookie. But I thought he showed quite a bit. And that's kind of my shorthand, overall, hey, nobody that was under a contract that the Hawks are banking on doing something in the near future had a bad Summer League, which is good. Occasionally that happens. I'm sure some of the supporting guys that came in would like to have had better weeks, for sure. But I think of the guys who were on contracts, whether it be full deals or 2-way deals, then that's Bufkin, Newell, Juricic, Toppin, and Njai. All those guys were either pretty good to really good by their projections, by their relative baselines. And I would say, unsurprisingly, the Hawks went 4-0 when those guys played. Always when any of those guys played. So good week in Vegas for me. I will have, again, more coverage on this. I'm going to try to have at least one guest on, maybe two, talk about Summer League in a little bit more deep dive fashion beyond my own opinions. But overall, that's it for the basketball cycle in the short term. As far as games are concerned, I will also note the Hawks do have some guys playing Eurobasket. It's about a month away, but I will be probably covering some Eurobasket, like covering games a little bit, not like in granular detail, but we'll be watching about, in particular, Porzingis and Ricochet to see how they look in about a month. There's stuff to watch, but in the meantime, there's WNBA on. There's all kinds of stuff to watch. It's just not going to be Hawks basketball in Hawks jerseys until like early October when camp convenes and they get going for the exhibition schedule. All right, everybody. That's all I have on tonight's show. I'll have plenty of content this week. I have an interview that I've already recorded, actually, with my good friend Dane Moore covering Nickeil Alexander-Walker in deep dive fashion. He covered Nickeil in Minnesota. That'll be coming up later on this week as well. Summer League coverage, roster coverage, player casting with Glenn Willis, all that will be there. So please subscribe to Locked On Hawks anywhere you find your podcasts. Apple, Spotify, YouTube, etc. Follow the show on X/Twitter at Locked On Hawks. Follow me there at BT Rowland. Follow my Blue Sky at BT Rowland. And I'm also on Patreon. It's patreon.com/BT Rowland for my non-podcast coverage of the Hawks. All right, everybody, that's all we have on today's show. So again, stay tuned. Plenty more to come this week, and we'll see you all next time.